Good morning, rock stars. How are you?
Hi, hi, hi.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. We are so thrilled to have you. Chris and I were chatting about you earlier in the weight room. All good things. Mary Ann, welcome to the I Am Unbreakable podcast. Can you tell our community a little bit about yourself? And then we're going to dive right in.
Sure. Okay. So, what can I tell you? Adrian, we met through my job. So, I'm a vice president with an organization called BDC, and that's Business Development Bank of Canada. For ease of reference, it's the federal government's commercial bank. And I look after a geographic area, as we refer to as GTA West, so from Etobicoke to Hamilton. And I have the privilege of working with very dedicated people every day that help entrepreneurs in the Canadian ecosystem. I've been doing that. I'll celebrate my 17th anniversary with BDC in August. So yeah, that's kind of cool as well. And but I started. I'm a farm girl from southwestern Ontario. My parents were immigrant farmers, and we'll have a chance to explore that a little bit more. And then when I decided to, kind of launch my career, I worked for a bank in the Windsor area. That helped me develop my love for manufacturing, and that's going to be an important part of our conversation. And then I transitioned to BDC during the credit crisis of 08, 09. That's when stuff got real. I could see how entrepreneurs are impacted by, again, the grand scale of economics and things like that. And that's when I really doubled down on trying to commit my time and efforts to supporting entrepreneurs and switched to BDC. I moved up the 401 a few times, and here I'm in lovely Port Credit, where I call home in the Mississauga area.
I love that. And you know what? You are definitely a rock star. I love the fact of how dedicated you are to helping entrepreneurs and founders. So thank you so much for that. And we're just going to dive right in because we've got so many questions and we'll definitely get back to business. You mentioned
Mhm.
Farm Girl, you mentioned, kind of transitioning, but I want to go back sort of to way back before you even started doing what you're doing. Did you
Mhm.
always know what you were going to do growing up? Because Chris, you and I have this conversation
Mm,
all the time. Like
yeah,
we're
yeah.
always like, when do you realize what your kind of calling is? And we're going to talk about Act Three in a minute, but Act One is where you're, hustling and going to school and trying to make
Mhm.
things work, maybe starting a family. Act Two is, being all into that. And then I feel like Act Three is really your passion and your purpose, which we get to talk about after. So, what did you want to do prior to even Act One?
My goodness, I know nobody ever starts out saying, "Hey, I want to be a government banker."
Chris, can you
There's
attest to that?
The point in case nobody ever says I want to be a banker. I mean, I love what I do, but nobody ever is this little
No,
girl at
no. I
six
mean,
years
we want to
old
be
being like,
ballerinas. We
yeah,
want to be, all those other great things
you
as
got
well.
it.
I dabbled in, my thinking process around, do I want to go into teaching, maybe practice law and things like that. But, growing up on a working farm, effectively, my parents were entrepreneurs. At the end of the day, and I learned so much. If you want to get your MBA in life, go work on a family farm. That you're going to learn everything you need to learn. By the time you're about 8 years old, and I say that kind of jokingly, but you learn everything from, like the Thomas Clear sort of, like consistency always
Yeah.
trumps intensity. I said my parents couldn't say, hey, you know what, we're going to golf in Florida an extra few months and just get those crops going in June. Like a lot of planning, a lot of diligence, a lot of, and you also learn things like life isn't fair, like that you do all the things right. And then all of a sudden a storm could come in. I remember, a hailstorm wiping out the crops that year. And what are we going to do? And well, you learn that you have to have a plan B and you've got to be prepared. And, and in
And
that kind of way,
resilience.
life's not fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I knew as I was evolving and going through, I like working with people. So I had a lot of retail experience. I had to work on the farm, like that. I had my requisite. That's when you're part of a farm family. That's what you owe the farm and the family, So until I was about 16, 17, I worked on the farm. And then I started dabbling in different part-time jobs and working in retail, and I realized how much I do like working with people and helping them solve things as well. So I went in the business stream for my education and then kind of landed in that banking sector as well
Love
then.
it. I
Mhm.
love that. And, you talk a lot about everything I'm hearing talks about grit, talks about work ethic, talks about
Yeah.
resilience, talks about knowing how to deal with things when, the storm comes in, which sadly, I have to say, I mean, Chris, you and I chat about this on a regular on the podcast. I feel like the generations coming up sort of lack, right? And I know
Mhm.
that as, mentors, we always try to sort of instill like, life is not a straight paved highway.
No.
And so we try to prepare not only, our kids, but our mentees as well, right, Chris? That's something
Yeah. Yeah, for
we
sure.
talk a lot about.
Yeah, resilience. I mean, it definitely played a part in many points in your story, and I think that that's important. And I love the term. I mean, I know you were being literal, but it's perfect. Is being prepared for the storm
Yeah.
is I think is a skill that most people need a little work on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel too, I think there's one aspect of that I do want to share it. And really my mother was a farm wife and way back when. And a farm wife meant she worked as hard as any man that we hired on the farm. And she took care of 6 kids, managed
Six.
to do that. And which is just amazing. Yeah.
Yes.
But back then, the government didn't deem the work that farm wives did as eligible for pensions.
Oh,
And you kind of, and that's always, and whenever I tell a story, people are like, oh, that's terrible. And it is kind of is. But the lesson I learned from that was, with my parents is, yeah, life's not fair.
Yeah.
But you got to get over it. You got to get over it and make another plan.
I,
And
that's a
that's what they
t-shirt,
did.
Chris.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Life's
I
not
love that.
fair.
You got to get over it. I love that.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And those are the lessons, I feel like today, and I'm equally as guilty. Like we really try to sugarcoat certain things, and we don't want people to be so upset. We want to
Mhm.
cheer them on. It's all about the
Yeah.
participation medal, and even doing the power of the pitch now. Chris, you and I had this meeting of like, yes, we want to cheer them on. We want to tell them about all the good stuff, but
Mhm.
we
Yes.
also want to give them the feedback of you missed this. This really
Mhm.
needs work and you forgot to deliver this, right?
Yeah.
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 And I feel like people often will not receive that well.
Yeah.
Whereas I know I'm the same way. I want to ask Mary Ann if you are as well. Chris and I are always like, tell me what you didn't like. I get what you liked. I already know, but there's
Mhm.
things I didn't like. I want to know if that's how you felt. What do you think about sort of a leadership perspective that way of letting people have the stage and open the door for those kinds of discussions?
I think that's an imperative that we really, really have to embrace now. And, I mean, over the years, how many different coaching books and leadership books, and, we had the sandwich method of giving feedback, and gosh, this is amazing. Now, this could have been a little, and then, oh, it's still, and then something gets lost. And I started just viewing feedback as just that. There's no good or bad feedback. It's feedback. Sometimes it's more of a developmental nature, and sometimes, it's a very celebratory thing. But when so sometimes, it might be a little surprising. I come across as a bit blunt. And and
That's
that
why
used
the three of us would be like, exactly. But I love that because then you're never guessing. Like,
no,
don't
no.
people sort of enjoy that? And you're right. Chris, we always say this, we're not for everybody. And maybe
No.
your leadership ugh, your leadership style is not for everybody. But wouldn't you rather somebody where you know where you stand? Like,
Absolutely. And the other piece of it's all life is about our journey, whether it's, our personal life or our career. It's a journey that we're continually course correcting.
mm,
Yeah.
And feedback is so valuable. And somewhere along the way, yeah, we got into this participation culture, this everybody gets a ribbon culture. And it's kind of cool in the right context.
hmm.
But I think after kindergarten, you have to kind of deal with,
No more
like,
gold stickers for you, right?
yeah, like, and just, but one of the things I also started realizing too, and I try to package whatever feedback it is as a gift. So, as the giver of feedback, I have to prepare, if I gave you a gift today, I wouldn't say, here, this gift is for you. It's a mouse. I would research. I would, what's the best mouse to buy for Adrian? Okay, now that I've got it, okay, how am I going to package it? Am I going to wrap it up nicely, or am I just throw it from the Amazon bay? And feedback's the same way. Do a little research, make sure that you're delivering it in a manner that's going to be most effective. And then on top of that, the packaging of it, the gift of it, pick the right time, pick the right spot. Don't wait too long. Make sure it's relevant. And then when I started framing it that way, then it helped me to receive feedback as well.
So
I,
amazing.
I really like the gift aspect of that. And one thing I try and remember, because no one, I mean, as much as I want the feedback, we don't do the fluff. I
Mhm.
like to actually know how I can do better, be better. And so I try and remind myself that never along my career or my personal journey have I ever, had big improvements or this revelation from someone saying, you did amazing.
Yeah.
Like
Mm,
Yeah.
that's never been a pivotal point, right?
Yeah.
It's always been because someone said, "Have you thought about this? I didn't like this.
Mhm.
Have you tried this?" Right? It's always from really constructive feedback, and so I try and keep that in mind. That
Yeah.
to do better and be better and improve and have course
Mhm.
correct. I like that. I'm going to steal that course correct. We've got to have that actually like grit feedback. That's
Yeah.
actually true. Is there any feedback that you received that was that changing moment, that course correct? What was that feedback that you were like, "Oh, that was tough to hear"?
So that's amazing. It's a great question. And it was a few years ago, I hired an external coach and just kind of said, want to keep myself fresh and relevant, want to, da 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 da. And so, I've got that big personality. People laugh. I'm kind of funny. I'm kind of this, but I also realize that I can be, polarizing as well. And so one of the things she says, the best thing to do is get some 360 feedback. But the really good way to get it is if I interview, this is my coach saying, I'm going to interview your contemporaries as well. So that meant for me then to say, hey, Chris, you know what? I'm going through this coaching program. And I know that we're work buddies and all this good stuff, but I'm looking for feedback specifically around these things.
Yeah.
And my coach is going to call you and interview you. I know it's going to be uncomfortable, maybe, but I really, really want you to. And so one item of feedback that really resonated with me, I said, I've got to action this, is I'm a strong leader. When people, come to work with me, they feel supported. But then there was something I used to do if something we didn't see eye to eye, or somebody maybe, took a different direction. I was very tribal. You're in, you're out.
Ah,
And
yes.
while you're in, it was really fun. But then
Yeah.
the feedback was when you're out, not so
You're
much
very
fun.
out. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and it lacked productivity. It lacked a next step momentum. And I realized that was no longer, it served me well to a
Yeah.
certain point.
Yeah.
And like everything in life, something serves you well to a certain point. And I realized at this stage in my career, it no longer served me well.
Mm.
And it took a lot of guts for people to. So after I was done, I said, wow, that was brutal, but thank you. It
Yes.
took a
Yeah.
lot for you to be that honest. And I really appreciate that. And there was always this, whew, I didn't want
Yeah.
to be out after I gave you that. Yeah. But that was feedback that was really relevant and actionable. And now I'm able to say, because we had this frank discussion, is like, hey, I'm working on that, being more inclusive, less tribal, and how am I doing? So now I'm able to go back and check in with those people and say, how am I showing up? And every once in a while, it's good, it's this, I see a noted improve, or hey, you know what? When you get tired or a little overwhelmed, that's when you behave that way. So again, that course correcting, but
Yeah.
that was some of the best feedback I
I
got.
It
love
is good
that.
feedback.
I love that. And what a great question, Chris. And to your point, you don't know what you don't know. And if
Yeah.
nobody's talking to you, I mean, Chris has Jeff, who's been so Jeff, we love Jeff. I keep thinking about
Everybody needs a Jeff.
everybody needs a Jeff who's
I feel
just
like I need a
brutally
Jeff.
honest.
Okay.
Everybody needs a Jeff.
Who's brutally honest and that can just tell you. And I love that this coach actually went to some of your
Mhm.
coworkers or friends and said, hey, what do you think? And you were able to receive that. Going back a step, you talked about the mouse you were going to gift me, which, by the way, I prefer my mice little and furry and cute. No, I'm just kidding. But you talk about packaging and delivering. I want you to show our community. You and I had lunch. We talked about something, and you went, "Look, Adrian, I asked ChatGPT. Let's see your notes. Come on, this is
Oh,
a woman who's a
this,
strategist who is prepared, and I love that. So,
well,
it's amazing. Well, there's so many, lingos that are going on, but
yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah.
What were you going to say?
Well, no, you talked in terms of the context of the third act, and I thought, well, I think I know what she's referencing, but let's go to Chat GPT and say, in the context of a career, the third act generally refers to the final stage of one's professional life, often after a traditional career climb or peak earning years, and then it talks about a period where individuals blah blah blah. So
I
and
love
it gave
that.
you a few lists, yeah.
And I'm sorry, maybe I should have asked you, do you know what this refers to? I mean, there's so much slang and lingo. I
Yeah.
can't understand half of what, my kids are talking about, and they're like, "Oh my God, you're such a boomer." I'm like, "No, your grandma's a boomer, Gen X
Yeah.
baby." But anyways, that's a whole nother podcast for
Yeah.
another time. So when we talk about the third act, and the reason we talked about the third act, you have
Hmm.
something super exciting. And even though we've only actually known each other less than a year, I told Chris it was 3 years. Nevertheless, I love the fact that you take time for you. You travel, you sent me this beautiful picture, which I'll include in this video, of you having lunch in Croatia, not in Greece, although I think
Hmm.
that was on your bucket list too. And you
Oh, Greece was
travel.
last year.
Oh, that's why I got Greece on the mind. So, you do things for yourself, you self-care, you sort of said, well, I'm moving on, and then you went into to me, the third act is really what you're passionate about and what
Hmm.
maybe your real purpose should be. And you immediately knew. So, number one, congratulations on about to start the third act. And tell us a
Thanks.
little bit about how that feels. There's lots of people transitioning, lots of different ages, different stages, but they're transitioning into their passion and purpose.
Yeah. So you know what? I am very fortunate, and I feel as though that while I'm entering that third act zone as well, that during my second act here, I was able to dabble a lot. And I'm going to share a little bit more as well. So years ago, I was on a chamber board, and then one of my colleagues on the chamber board said, hey, I need you for another project. And he invited me to be on a hospital foundation committee. And that's when I learned about that's where I fell in love. It went from a
Mm.
schoolgirl crush into a full I'm in love with this sort of cause as well. And so but over the years, I've always decided I'm never going to wait till Act Three starts to discover what that might be. So
Oh,
I've dabbled, and I've been on 4 different hospital foundation boards. That's how I give back to the community. And it's important because people in the community don't realize that the MRI machine doesn't come from, the tooth fairy. Yeah, like that. And
Yeah.
it doesn't come from the government either. You
yeah.
got to raise money for your own community and things like that. Um, I'm passionate about leadership. And so in a way, I feel pretty confident that I'm leaving colleagues that I've worked with for a long time and people that, are under my direct report better off than when I maybe met them in that case. And
Awesome.
that's not me. That's my guidance, but their steam as well. And I guess I'm still very, very passionate about the manufacturing sector and the state of productivity in Ontario.
Mm.
So those things and all those things I've had a chance to while I'm working, spend a bit of time and help out in different ways as well. So Act Three for me will it. So somebody said to me too, my goodness, well, what are you going to tackle on your bucket list? Well, I'm living my bucket list now. I'm
Love
just
that.
going to have a little bit more time to really devote to what is really going to fire me up as well. So community healthcare remains a big priority for me, and what that looks like, we'll decide when that time comes. I just wrapped up my term as a board member for the Oakville Hospital Foundation, and while my board term is done, my work isn't. All right, in that
Awesome.
respect. So we're going to continue supporting that as well.
I love.
Um, I feel like there's a lot of entrepreneurs that are on a bubble right now. There's a lot of people, entrepreneurs that want to leave the ecosystem, and deservedly so. They deserve to retire, they deserve their own Act Three, but we're having trouble finding successors.
Mm.
And so for me, I feel as though Act Three might have something to do with that, continuing to help with that transition. If people say, what keeps you up at night? It's the number of entrepreneurs that want and need to retire. And if we don't find people to buy their businesses and take over their businesses, we're going to lose really good companies in
Mm.
Ontario here that we'll miss when they're gone.
I love that. And,
Yeah.
thank
Amazing.
you so much for bringing it back to entrepreneurs. Sadly, our time is almost up, and I've got 31 more questions for you. So,
Yeah.
actually, probably 131, but 31 for sure. And I love the fact that you bring it back to how we can support entrepreneurs and the fact that you're still going to be in that space in some way, shape, or form. I think we're all going to be very incredibly grateful and
Mm.
blessed for how many people that you will definitely be affecting that way. So, and I think this is definitely going to be a part two to this. So, I want to ask you something. What does it mean to you to be unbreakable?
Wow. For me, it's that resilience and always recognizing too, some days it's important to cross the finish line, but many days it's more important just to show up at the start line.
Love that.
I
Yes.
love that. What do you think, Chris? Nailed.
Yeah. Nailed it.
It
Nailed it.
never ceases to amaze me. Doesn't matter who we ask, and we ask it at the end of every podcast.
Mhm.
People are like, ooh, because it's not an easy question. And I think
Yeah.
it's very personal for everybody. But you kind of nailed, Chris, and I feel the same way. It is about showing up, especially on the days you don't want to,
Yep.
Yeah.
the tough stuff, right? And just
Mhm.
realizing that not every day is rainbows and unicorns, although we love,
Right.
although we love unicorns, right, Chris?
We do.
Always.
Okay, so now we are going to end with something that, you can say I claim the fifth, but you get one answer. I'm going to ask you 15 rapid fire questions. Chris will ask you another 15. You have 60 seconds. And essentially, it's just one word answers. So
Yeah.
bear with me for 30 seconds while I am able to see here. Okay, one word answers only. Um, so don't say I don't know. Try to pick one. Text or teleport?
Text.
Champagne or chaos?
Champagne.
Passive income or passionate drama?
Passionate drama.
Glitter or grit?
Grit.
Zoom or doom?
Zoom.
In or out of inbox or out of office?
Out of office.
Stay or stay home?
Stay.
Launch it or wing it?
Wing it.
LinkedIn or left on red?
LinkedIn.
Red lipstick or red flag?
Red lipstick.
Fame or freedom?
Freedom.
Done is better or perfect never?
Done is better.
Gut or Google?
Gut.
Cry in Chanel or laugh in sweats?
Cry in Chanel.
I love it.
Atta girl. Okay, next 15. Go for it, Chris.
All right, that's bold or that's dumb.
Bold.
Perfect answer. Screenshot or keep the secret.
Keep the secret.
Exit strategy or exit the chat.
Exit the chat.
DM slide or decline politely.
Decline.
I'm booked or I'm broken.
Booked.
Podcast host or podcast ghost.
Ghost.
Avoid the drama or film it.
Oh, avoid it.
Pitch deck or just vibes.
Pitch.
Speak now or mute forever.
Speak now.
Launch party or group therapy.
Oh, launch party.
Ghost writer or ghost them.
Ghost writer.
Business plan or back pocket bluff.
Business plan.
Mascot or mogul.
Mascot.
Ooh, that surprised me.
Yeah.
Pinterest board or panic mode.
Pinterest board.
Comment back or block immediately.
Comment back.
Last one, legacy or leftovers.
Legacy all the way, sisters.
Yeah.
I
I love
love
it.
that. What a great way to end this podcast. You are definitely a legacy and a
Yes.
star. Thank you so much for joining, Chris and I.
Thanks.
We love you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
I can't wait to see Act 3.
I'm looking forward to it. Awesome. Thanks,
Awesome.
guys.